Hey everybody, it's David Dyer, and welcome to Idioms episode 44. I'm your host, and Idioms is my mini-cast, 5 minutes at the most, about the same time it takes to write a letter to a family member that you obviously don't care much about. 5 minutes? Really? And as the name implies, I talk about idioms, those phrases we say in everyday conversation that seem completely out of place, yet you know exactly what they mean by the way they're being used. Good, so let's go. This is Idioms episode 44, and the idiom we're going to cover today is, how do you like them apples? You've heard it. Do you like apples? Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples? Matt Damon from 1997's Good Will Hunting. Literal meaning, to ask somebody how they feel about the Honey Crisp they just bit into. Contextual meaning, a phrase used to taunt or tease someone after gaining some kind of small victory over them, like getting Skylar's phone number. Although it can also be used as a term of surprise directed at a sudden turn of events. Well, how do you like them apples? So let's explore the origin. Well, obviously the popularity of this phrase skyrocketed after its use by Matt Damon's character in the 1997 movie Good Will Hunting. A tremendous movie written by and starring both Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and co-starring the late Robin Williams. Damon and Affleck won screenwriting Oscars, and Robin Williams won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar. But its origin goes farther back than that scene outside a bar in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A majority of sources say that the phrase comes from World War I. Now, World War I was a humongous conflict that took the lives of about 17 million people. According to WeAreTheMighty.com, multiple terms regarding warfare came out of World War I. For example, when the British were working on their first ground armored fighting vehicle, they didn't want others to know what they were doing, so they called them water tanks. Once they were revealed and put into service, part of the name stuck, and now we simply call them tanks. But this phrase is thought to reference a particular 2-inch medium mortar that the British used called a toffee apple, named so because of its likeness to an actual toffee apple on a stick that you eat. These weapons would be used for all kinds of warfare, but they were primarily lobbed into enemy trenches. The problem with them was this: they were hard to launch and even harder to throw, so their range was pretty short. That meant that they often had to be launched from very close range. However, because of their name, after throwing them into the trenches, the Brits could often be heard yelling, "How do you like them apples?" So that's all well and good, and I'm sure that's where the idiom really started to gain traction. However, KnowYourPhrase.com says the phrase first appeared in a newspaper called The Eagle way back on September 26, 1895, that read, "Bryan is the best cotton market in this section of the state and has received more cotton than any other town in this section. How do you like them apples?" So now what? Matt Damon just can't win everything, although my wife would say different. And we'd like to give credit to the Brits who bravely launched mortars into enemy trenches from spitting distance, but now we see it was used in a newspaper 19 years before the start of World War I. And obviously it was used before that, because why else would you put it in your article unless people would know what the hell you're talking about? So where do we go from here? Do we have to go all the way back to the Garden of Eden when the snake asks Adam for a review of the fruit he just consumed? Well, if my wife has anything to say about it, she would have a nude Matt Damon play Adam with a Boston accent, and that would be all the origin story she'd need. Oh, and by the way, if anyone's thinking of actually putting that movie together, she'd at least like a shot at playing Eve. So that's it. Episode 44 of Idioms is complete, and I grew up in an apple orchard, so asking me if I like them apples is probably a waste of your time. I liked all the apples. I'm your host, David Dyer. Thanks for listening. Check back for new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, but until then, I'll catch you on the flip side.